Okay, good morning everyone. Happy Monday. It's a new week. We are back for another leg day. We have a lower body strength session today, focusing all upon our legs. And we are also going to be getting some core work done at the end of our session after that leg work. Of course, we'll be starting with a warm-up, which will not require any equipment except your mat and your body. And then for the exercises, I will be using this chair, as you see here, as it's out. Underneath the chair, I have my 8-pound dumbbells, my loop bands, and that is it. That is all for today. So let's get you started on the floor as we do best on a Monday. Come down here. We're going to lay on our side all the way down, taking this top leg, weaving it underneath the bottom like this, stacking our arms and shoulders up, making sure we have a little bit of space as well, and behind and in front, or above us rather. We'll come across the body in this bow and arrow, trying to bring this hand all the way down to the floor, or as close as we can at this point in our lives. And then we'll reach up and around our head until we're back to the center. And that's one bow and arrow, and we will do 10 of these on each side. Every rep, we're trying to inhale at this starting point here, and then we'll exhale, breathe out, trying to get that hand maybe a little bit closer towards the floor every rep as we go through 10 of them. So we'll get 10 on this side, and then we will switch and do 10 on the other side. You don't actually have to turn around unless you want to, or you can just flip over and let's do it over here. So we'll again weave the top leg, take it underneath the bottom like this. We'll make sure that this knee stays down. Stack shoulders, arms, cross that body with an exhale. If you don't have enough space, kind of like this side over here for me, we can keep this arm bent, but we will still try to get the shoulder and part of that arm down onto the floor. So we'll go through our 10 on each side. This one always feels so nice to do first thing, after a weekend of maybe not doing very much stuff to move our body, or maybe to loosen up what we did this weekend. So once you're finished, we will sit ourselves up into our 90-90 position, 90 degrees at both of our knees. We'll see how we're feeling right here today. Hopefully, in theory, we should be getting more comfortable up in this 90-90. So we want to lock both of our feet in place. Today, we're going to flip the legs right and left. If you need to, you can lean back, okay, and use your hands and arms for support. But the goal eventually is to not do that. So every day, we'll see if we can maybe try to do this without that leaning back situation. Eventually, both of your butt cheeks, both your hips will make contact with the floor. But again, that is something that takes time and takes mobility, which is what we're working on right here. So we'll go back and forth 10 times per side, 20 times total. So there and back is 1. You can do 10, or you can count every one and count 20. Once we're finished this one, we should be feeling a little looser in the hips. We will stand ourselves up to the top. I'm just going to adjust this a little bit here and pull up our list of exercises. All right, so as we finish up those 90-90s, we will bring ourselves up to the very front of our mat, standing hip width apart in our feet. Arms are going to be down by our sides. We'll step back into a lunge, sending both arms up. Nothing happening at the bottom. We're just reaching that bottom point of the lunge, straight arms, high chest, and we'll alternate legs right and then left. Both arms go up, and we'll go through 20, 10 per side of these lunges. So again, we'll just step back, straight arms. I like this. We got the sunlight coming through here. Always nice. Means it's probably pretty cold, but sunny, can't complain. Okay, so we'll get through 20 of those ones. Again, alternating right side and left side. And then you can stay at that front position or come to the center of your mat, whatever you like. We're going to stay in that same shoulder width stance in our feet. We want to stand up nice and tall, soft knees. Arms are going to go above our head. My arms are straight, although they're a little bit cut off. And we'll go through this overhead hip hinge where we're trying to move just through the hips, pushing our hips behind us, and then pulling our hips forward. Arms stay lifted and reaching above our head so that we never see our hands. So we'll go through 10 of these total. Hips back, feeling the stretch through the back of the legs, and then we squeeze the butt and use the glutes to pull ourselves up to the top, getting that nice activating feeling as we go through our 10 reps of those ones. Very nice. Overhead. Okay, so we have 2 more back down on the floor actually. So let's get back down there. Next one is all about activation. The next two, actually. First one is going to be a little bit of core, but mostly the glutes, the back of the hips. We want to get into this bridging position. Feet are flat on the floor. Knees are bent up. We can feel the heels, but with a reach. Not right away. We have to kind of bend down to get them. Lower back will be squished into the floor. We'll drive those hips all the way up to the top. And then we'll lift up one leg. Put that leg back down. And then lift up that other leg. So what we're going for here is stability of our hips. We want to load up that leg that's going to take the weight before we shift the weight. So making sure that we don't have any tilting going on in the hips. You can keep your arms on the floor to give you a bit more support for that balance and that stability. And take your time with this one. We'll go through 20 of them total, 10 per side. Try not to let this bridge position be affected. So we don't want the hips to drop the entire time. We're trying to keep them lifted up. If you're struggling with this one, something that helps is narrowing out your feet. So walking them a little closer together. You can try that if you need to. We'll go through 20 of those ones. And then we have one more down here, so don't get too excited about standing up quite yet. The last one we're going to do down here is for our abs and our core. It's the dead bug. So we have arms and legs lifting up, 90 degrees at the knees, 90 degrees at the ankles, and then arms are straight so the wrists are sitting right on your shoulders. Same situation with the back. We need it tight into the floor, so that's the first thing we'll do. And then we're going to take right hand and left foot. Might have to think about that a little and lower them down to the floor, lift them back up, and then we'll do the other side, 10 of these total. I'm keeping my leg bent, and that is so that I can maintain a very strong contact with my lower back. You might want to try this with a straight leg, which is going to make it a bit more challenging, but again, most important is that your back stays down on the floor. So let's get through these, 10 of them, 5 per side, and then we have one more version of these ones, so don't, again, go too far once you're finished. The second version, what we're going to do is take that opposite palm, squish it into that opposite knee, and then we'll lower those two that are not pushed together through another 10 on each side. So we'll go through 10 over here, exhaling as we let them down, inhaling as we come up, and then we'll switch and do 10 on this side. And by the time you are done, even by the time you start, you should be feeling all the stuff in your abs and your core, maybe a bit of work in the hips, top of the thighs. But we will go through this, again, trying to keep the back down, 10 per side, up on the leg. And then we are standing up to the top, and we are going to get you started with our first 2 exercises. So take your sweet time. We'll give you about 1 minute to finish up down there as you are coming to an end. Again, you can grab some water, stand up, get yourself ready for our first 2 movements that we are going to do, which will require your bands. That is pretty much it. The first one is a body weight exercise. We're going to be working with our skater squats. Woo! This has been the theme that we've been following, actually starting last week, so it's kind of a new theme, but we've been working on our skater squats. So last day, if you were here, we'll talk about those bands in a second. You will need them though. We did alternating legs. So we did our left leg and we went down and then we came up, and then we did our right leg and we went down and we came up. Today, what we're going to do is all one leg. Same rep range, 10 and 10. We'll be doing 10 reps on each side, but all one leg, and then we'll switch and do all the other leg, okay? So this is going to be the first one. With this, we will have a banded side step going on here, but let's start with these skater squats. We will be doing 4 rounds total, okay? So as soon as you're ready, once you are done with the dead bugs and regrouped, we will get going on these ones. Again, trying to lower ourselves down. Arms can come in front of us so that we make contact with that knee, and then we use just that front leg to pull ourselves up to the top. So these are ones that we have been working on, kind of been putting them in the program to force you guys into doing them, where maybe initially when we first started doing this program, they were kind of optional. But these are very challenging, demanding single leg exercise. That being said, for some people, they're too challenging. So ways to make it easier, we've talked about our good old pillow height additions. So we can grab some towels or some pillows and put them down on the floor to elevate the floor. That way we don't have to go as low and reach so low to the floor, which is going to make you have less range, and make it a bit more manageable for someone who maybe can't do this so well, or maybe has some pre-existing stuff going on in their knees. And again, you can use more than one of those. The other thing that you can do is simply work with that negative, where we lower ourselves down, whoop, 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 and then we use that foot to kind of reset and push ourselves back up to the top. So we'll work with what we can. 10 of them. I don't know if you guys can hear my dog. One of them is in the kitchen there. She got surgery, and so she has a cone on, and she is whining, and she's probably going to howl the whole time, but it's all good. Better than the electrician or heating guys that were here on Friday. Okay, so once we're finished this, we are going to pair this with a side step. Now today we are banding up. I want you guys to grab 2 loop bands if you have them. We want a stronger or medium strength one around the top of the knees, and then a weaker or light, in this case this one's medium and this one's heavy, but we want a lighter strength band around our heels, around our ankles, like this. So normally when we do this exercise, we have just the one band typically around our heels, around our ankles, but we're adding this one in here so we can get a bit more work through the outsides of the hips, and the knees will be wanting to be pulled together a little bit more than normal. So that is the first thing. So we want to make sure the knees don't come together, that they do stay apart. Hip width stance, hip hinge, same thing we did in the warm-up where we push our hips back. And then we're stepping out wider, hip width, wider, hip width, all the way down the whole time, pushing the knees out to the side so that there's none of this at all, okay? Push them out. And then we're going to go there and back is 1. We'll be doing that 2 times. So I go wider, hip width, never coming closer, because if I come close like this, I'm going to lose tension here, and I will lose tension down at the bottom, okay? So we'll go through these, and the whole time we're kind of sticking it out, pushing our hips, our butt back behind us. There and back is 1, okay? 2 times. So either 4 lengths of your mat, or 2 times there and back. All right. Now, for those of you who don't have bands, or maybe you just have 1. If you only have 1 band, we'll put it around our heels, around our ankles, like this. If you have no band at all, then you can follow along with no band. You're just doing the same thing without the band, but you do want the band if you have it. So this is going to be us. We will be taking about 30 seconds of rest. Once we're finished these side steps, which you will feel, you'll probably feel like you need, and then we will complete 3 more rounds. Back to our skater squats, 10 and 10, 2 times there and back on our side steps, 3 more sets, and then we are done these ones. Okay, so yeah, grab some water, walk it off, and then when you are feeling ready, we will get going here on our second set, okay, which is again, not a lot of rest, but there is some. We have about 30 to 45 seconds. We'll try to keep the rest under a minute, but these 2 movements do have some similar stuff. Our skater squats, although they are kind of a full leg exercise, we get rid of the quad, glutes, back of the legs. Those side steps there also work all of that stuff as well, which is why we'll take a bit of rest before we go into our next set. That way we can have a stronger set, all right? So let's get going on it, as it's been much longer than 30 seconds, and let's do our second set. So again, we're trying our best to see if we can do this one body weight, okay? With just our body, you know, it's the best piece, usually the hardest piece of equipment to use. But if you need to make this, again, easier, harder, I'll talk about a couple different techniques. To make it harder, simply just slow down, okay? Take more time to lower yourself down to the floor, and ensure that you're not using your back leg, even so much so that you can lower down like this. And then before you stand up, you can think about kind of lifting up your foot like this, woo, and then bringing yourself up to the top. It's not going to be easy, okay? And for some of us, that might make it impossible. So you need a little bit of assistance from the back leg, that's okay. But that's what we're working ourselves up towards, is absolutely no help from that back leg, okay? Something that some people like to do on this one, which for me personally, I can understand why this works, but I typically find that this will make it harder, whereas for other people, this makes this actually possible, all right? Counterbalancing or counterweighting. So we can grab a light dumbbell. This is an 8-pounder. We can use 5, 8, 10, something like that. Hold it at our chest. as we go down and then come up, this weight is giving us that counterbalance or counter assistance, which is going to help, for some people, make this more manageable and actually possible to get to 10. So that is something that you can try if you need to. So we'll get through our second set of those side steps, okay? And going in that normal sideways motion. We've been working with some different versions of this one. We're going back to the standard one. There and back. A little bit of space at the top. Okay. So we'll work through this one. Okay, so a couple other ways I've talked about these side steps being done. Long bands, because I know some of us maybe only have this. Okay, maybe you do not have the loop bands. So if you only have a long band, it can be the one with the handles or without the handles. You can stand on it like this. Okay, so it's kind of wrapped like so, and then exit off and pull it up, and you can go through the same side step. Now this is going to give you tension for the side step and at the bottom of the foot. But we're not getting that knee tension that we would have if we have that band around our knees. So we want to make sure that we are pushing the knees out to the sides and having none of this caving in action going on. And that applies to all versions, all bands, or maybe even if you are not using a band. But it's something that you might have to think about, because naturally, for some of us, that doesn't happen. And even if the knees come in slightly, even a little bit, you're missing out on all of the work that's happening in your hips from keeping them apart. So we'll try to remember that on our last two sets. Okay, we'll take this rest. It's nice. And then we go through our third round, the skater squats, which are probably going to get progressively harder as we go through them, as we're getting more tired. But we'll try to use our breath. Remember that exhale will always help you out of the hard points of each rep. Okay, where this one, that bottom point to the top, that's the hardest part. So we'll take a nice inhale on the way down, and then we'll try to exhale and pull ourselves up with that breath. Very nice. Okay. So get through this set. Set number 3. Okay, we have 2 more to go on these ones, on the skater squats. Very nice. Okay, so then we'll take our time with it. Hopefully these are feeling a little easier, a little stronger in them. We're giving you a nice opportunity to focus all on one leg, which actually will probably make it feel a little harder than when we alternate, just because there's more focus on that one side. It gets a bit more tired, a bit faster. But we'll try to stay strong here. We have 1 more round after this one, and then we are done these ones for the day and for the week. Skater squats, get them done. Because for most people, they are probably the most challenging single leg exercise, body weight, compared to all of our other stuff, like our deadlifts, our lunges, all that stuff. These ones usually take the cake. All right, so we'll go through those side steps, and then we will take our rest. Use the opportunity to drink water. Okay. I also wanted to talk about, for those of you who only have 1 band, because I get it, and some of us literally have, like, you know, a set of dumbbells, maybe like 1 single dumbbell, you have like one band because it's simply just all you have, okay? Or maybe there's a time in your life where the strengths of your band are too light or too strong. So this is a technique that will make any band feel way heavier than it feels where we have it set at our knees or our ankles. We take this band and we put it around our feet. And this is not something that I would recommend doing in like a gym or if you're wearing shoes like outside, because it does kind of mess up the band. But most of us are at home and we're training, you know, on our floor, probably wearing socks. We don't need to wear shoes unless you want to, but if they are, they're indoor shoes, they're clean, so it's okay. We can have the band around our foot like this, the middle of our foot. And this is going to make that band feel very strong, okay, because it's at the lowest point where it could be. Whereas if it's around my heels or around my knees, it's not going to quite feel the same. So if you want to kind of crank it up a notch today or next time we do these side steps and make them feel a bit more challenging, we can try taking that bottom band from the ankle, putting it around the foot. Still keep the knee one if you want, and then we can go through our set of those side steps. The foot position, it's surprisingly harder than it looks. All right, so I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to finish up our last set of skaters, last set of side steps, and then we will be moving on. And a little bit of rest, but I will be mostly just talking about our next part that we have coming up after this one. Okay, so let's get this done. Finishing strong, as strong as we can on our final set. This set is, and your last one, so you're probably the most tired, but your body finally knows what's going on. Okay, it's done 3 sets prior to this, excuse me, so it is ready, as ready as it will ever be on this last set, 10 and 10. Final set of our side steps, and then we are moving on to the next 2, which are maybe just as hard as these 2, but that's okay. We will see. To each their own. All right. So final round of these skaters. Oh yes, we'll try to keep it even as possible on both sides, and finishing off with a final set of those side steps. Okay, another one again that really does get much more challenging if we just go slower. If you're rushing and you're kind of like all the way down and back, you are not going to feel this nearly as much as someone who takes their time and really loads up the hips, pushes the knees out, okay? Because that all is super important. And you can essentially kind of waste your time on this one, on most exercises, if you kind of rush them, if you're not hinging your hips and loading up and actually feeling that tension as we go through each step. So slow it down, okay? And try to think about pushing your hips back, and your butt glute should feel tight the entire time. Every single step you take, you should feel that work, okay? Especially with that little sneaky band addition around the knees, all right? So let's get it going on. Last round, last set. We have 1 more minute, which should be plenty of time because we are already at time. We should be almost done, but that's okay. Okay, so as you are coming to an end, we are moving on to the next part, which is going to need that chair, that bench, that ottoman, the towel on top so you don't get sweaty. Whatever you're going to be using for this part, we are going to need it because we have 2 exercises that will require something to lift up the floor. That being said, of course, I have options for those of you who don't have a chair or an actual bench or anything that you can use to do this with. But let's talk about these movements, and then I will talk about ways that you can do them without this. First one, a split squat. Hello, you probably saw this coming. Rear foot elevated on that chair, that bench. We're going to be going down, 1, 2, and then standing up to the top. So we have a 2-second pause. At the bottom of each rep, we are doing 10 of them total on each side. So we're going to start with this one and then pair it with a hip thrust. Upper back will be on the chair, going through our hip thrusting motion. We'll talk about the reps when we get there, but let's start with these split squats, okay? So we can get our first set done and out of the way. So ideally, I want you to weight this. 2 weights down by your sides, okay? Again, back foot up. We go down, 1, 2. Stand up. That's 1 rep. We're doing 10. So again, down, 1, 2, and that's 2, making sure we get down to 90 degrees, okay? All the way down. 2 seconds at the bottom. If you don't have a chair, bench, stair, or stool, you can put your back foot up on. You just put it on the floor like this. And then 1, 2. Okay, so this is going to be our first one. We will do this on both sides, my friends. 10 over here, 10 over here, and it feels like way more than 10 because of that nice 2-second pause at the bottom. Let's go through both sides, okay? And then we got a little something, something with this one. It is, I don't know what that is, like a wire. Okay, so this is our first one. Get it done. Second one is going to be the hip thrust. Now, actually, we need those weights. I almost had to do a little shimmy there. We're going to grab onto our weights, add them to the top of our hips like this. You can use one heavier dumbbell, or I have my two kind of lighter dumbbells stacked on top of each other. We'll lower ourselves down so that our upper back's on the chair. The weights are on the hips, 90 degrees at the knees. You want to come down right when those knees start to kind of rock back like so. We'll drive up to the top position, bringing the ribs and pelvis, doing a bit of like a crunch here, chin tucked, okay? 15 reps, normal ones, where we go up and we go down, normal tempo, 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down, unless you want to make this a bit harder, okay? It's important we feel the glutes, we feel the hips, and we know that for some of us, it just takes a little bit more mind to muscle connection, maybe a bit more time under tension, holding the rep, pausing the rep in order to feel that back side, okay? Some of us might not need to do that because of the split squats that we did before, or maybe you naturally just feel these hip thrusts more than others. 15, okay? Let's do them. Woohoo! All right, so once you're finished, of course we're doing it again. All right, so we will take that same rest bout, 30 to 45 seconds, okay? And that's important. It's there for a reason, all right? Once you're finished with hip thrusts, you'll probably be feeling like you need this rest, okay? Because we got glutes on glutes, back of the hips are working on both of these movements. And so we want to give them a bit of time to rest so that before we go into our next set of split squats, we can be ready for that, okay? We don't go into it and have like a really weak, crappy set and we rush through our pauses because we're so tired. That's why we have the rest here, so that you can kind of regroup, check it out, dance it out, grab some water, okay, do whatever you want to do for about 30 to 45, and then you will get going into it again after being a little bit rested, hopefully having a nice strong second set, okay? So again, back 1, 2, and then we stand up to the top. Just go crazy in there. Okay, so second round, let's do it. Okay, split squats. Now I talked about the dumbbells, but I did not talk about the bands. For those of you who do not have dumbbells, I want you to add some weight to this, okay? Body weight, of course, this might be challenging for some of us, even if we have dumbbells or not, but for most of us, we can most likely try to hold something. So if you don't have dumbbells, you can grab a band, wrap it around opposite foot like this, and then, make sure you're far enough away, and then we can go through our set with this banded resistance around my foot, and we can even add 2 bands, okay? If you do really want to make it harder for yourself, you can wrap more than one or even a stronger one. It's going to be much more challenging. All right, let's get it. Second set. Right into those hip thrusts. The glutes. Okay, we have 4 sets total. I don't know if I said that. You probably saw it coming though. 4 seems to be our infamous number. 3 to 4, usually 4. So let's get through these next 2 rounds. Okay, again, we'll finish up this one, taking our time with it, but following kind of a normal tempo, okay? Which you need a reminder of, 2 seconds down, 2 seconds up. That's gonna make sure that we, again, don't rush through the set. And we get the most that we can. Perfect. All right, and then once you finish those, you can just rest a little bit. So we can sit on our floor, sit on our chair, stand up, okay, walk around, grab water. It doesn't matter what you do right now. I'm not so specific as I am when we're doing that cardio, the conditioning, because we're doing our strength, and most people, prefer to sit rather than walk around. But it's completely up to you. Okay, what I need you to do though is take the rest. About 30 to 45 seconds. If you need a reminder, you probably have a clock somewhere in your house or something like that, and so you can watch the clock so that you don't end up taking maybe a little bit too long. And then let's do it again. Okay, we have 2 more rounds. Split squats, hip thrusts, all this stuff in the back of the hips, back of the legs, your glutes, and then 2 more sets. We'll finish these ones. So we'll really try to get the most out of them. as we go through these 2-second paused split squats, which are definitely the hard one here, okay? So let's try to be as honest as we can with this pause. If you're not really a counter, something else that you can think about is your breathing. We can sink down to the bottom of that split squat, give ourselves a full inhale, exhale cycle before we stand up to the top, which takes about 2, maybe even a little longer, maybe about 3 seconds, and that's okay, because it's gonna ensure that you actually take that time rather than kind of skipping through it. Some of us are kind of like 1, 2, and that's not quite the same as my 1, 2, okay? That extra time down there makes a big difference, and we know this, which is typically why we try to kind of rush through it, and it happens subconsciously. It's not like we want to cheat ourselves of these things, but our body just naturally wants to make things easier, and counting when you're pausing is something that it usually kind of speeds up. So either Mississippi's breathing, or simply just, you know, being honest with yourself, honest with your count. You do a fast 3 or 4 rather than a slow 2. Let's do it, okay? We have our last couple sets with lots of time, about 6 minutes to finish them up. So maybe we should be starting our third if you are not already, so that we can get through this stuff on time. Let's do it. All right. So hip thrusts, I kind of like to hang in there if you don't have a chair. Hopefully you just presumed on these hip thrusts, if you are working without chair or bench, that we are laying on our back, okay, just like we did in the warm-up, low back into the floor, and then we can go through our 15 reps. This is also a really good one for those of you who struggle to feel your glutes, okay? Something that happens very often in hip thrusts is arching the back and kind of flaring up the ribs like this. And then we go through the set and we have this kind of situation going on. Okay, and you might not know what's happening, but you're putting a lot of stress on your lower back and you're never gonna feel your glutes. Okay, the way you would if you take this whole situation and bring it in so that we rotate our pelvis like this rather than outward like that. We want to tuck it under. You can also think about bringing this space from your pelvis and your rib cage and closing it, okay? And so as we go through that, we'll probably feel that a lot more through the glutes than if we kind of push our ribs up and push our tummy up like this, okay? So something that you can do before you start your set is pushing the back into the floor, which will help you just overall clean up your form if you are not feeling your glutes and maybe feeling a little bit of pressure in your lower back. Because we don't want that. That's not why we're here. We're here for the butte work. Okay, so let's make sure we feel it. One more set. Not so bad. Okay, final round. Again, we'll take the rest. Maybe upward to the 45 seconds at this time. And then we have one more round. These ones. Okay. This is it. Let's do it. Final set. We have our split squats of our hip thrusts. So we'll go through our honest 2-second count. And most important is that you're keeping even, consistent on each side. Okay, we're not having a nice slow first side and then we rush through our second side because we're so tired and we want to be done. Okay, let's try to keep it as consistent as possible on that second side, which you probably are starting, if not maybe finishing pretty quick here. Okay, last set. After this, we have a nice leg strength circuit to do. And then it is time for us to work our core and our abs today on the floor. You know, you don't have to leave the floor on the start. So that's nice. Okay, so we have about 2 minutes to finish up your final round of both of these. So that's lots of time. All right, so we'll take our sweet time on our last set. Maybe you want to try out pausing in your hip thrusts, maybe. Or maybe just slowing down altogether so that you can really feel this, get the most out of it. Get the work back of the hips. Okay, final set of them. Perfect. Let's get it. All right. As we are finishing up, you can grab yourself some water once you're done. Stand up. Okay, lay there. Take a couple deep breaths if you need to. We have less than a minute before I will start talking about our final part, which again is a leg strength circuit. We're going to have 3 exercises done back to back. Don't get too keen on putting away that chair or that bench, although you might not need it if it's just a bench or a couch. What we're going to be using this chair for in this final part here is to hold on to it, okay? So you don't actually need to use a specific chair. You can use a bookshelf, you can use a wall, you can use pretty much anything that's stable. Because what we're going to try to do is hold on to something so that we do not have to worry about balance in this first one. So that sounds nice already. So let's start off with this one and get set up for it. Again, if you're still finishing up those hip thrusts, you just do your thing, okay? Once you are done, you can come up here and join us. We have a single leg deadlift to reverse lunge. So we're going to be working with 8 of these on each side, 8 on the first side, 8 on the second side, preferably holding on to something, again, so we don't have to worry about balance, because we know that deadlift, that single leg deadlift, has some balance involved. So I have both my dumbbells. I'm going to stack them on top, so I have one heavier dumbbell in this one hand here. I'll position myself so that I'm beside my chair here, and I'm going to hold on with the opposite side of the weights that I'm holding here. Again, it doesn't have to be a chair. Use a wall. You can use pretty much anything that's not going to fall over. If I fall over, we want it to be stable. I'm going to stand on the side that I'm holding on. Soft knee in that side. We'll push our hips back behind us. Whoops, I'll kick that air freshener. And then we'll pull those hips forward and then step back into a lunge. And that's 1, okay? So again, I'm going to turn to the side here. And we go deadlift, down, all the way up into that lunge. That's 2, okay? We're doing 8 of these per side. So hips back, hips forward, all the way up, and then lunge. Not using this hand, okay? So we don't want a white knuckle death grip, but we want a light grip, so we don't have to think about balancing, all right? So let's do this. Starting our first set, getting it going on both sides. We have the nice lemon scent air freshener. There we go. Sorry, huh? Again, a wall, okay? If you don't mind putting your grab hands on the wall, we can use that wall here, and you can even kind of slide your hand up and down rather than just like holding on and turning down. We want to make sure that we are bending our elbow as we go through that rep so that we don't end up, again, kind of turning our body like this. We just kind of naturally go down with that rep. Okay, so let's do it. 8 and 8. Second one. We have 2 more exercises to go with this one. We have a standard RDL, Romanian deadlift, otherwise known as our straight leg deadlift. Similar to that single one you did, except on 2 legs. So we want a hip width apart, stance in our feet, soft knees. We're going to hold the weight beside us, right beside our hips, shoulder blades together, core is tight. We'll push those hips back behind us, keeping the weights on the sides of our legs, and then we'll pull those hips forward 12 to 15. So we have a range. We can stop at 12, or we can go up to 15. It's important today that the weights stay on the sides of our legs. So we're trying to get a little bit more target on the back of the hips and less on the lower back, which happens if we hold the weights in front. The low back and the core has to work a bit more than if we keep them in and close. So that's what we're going for, 12 to 15. So you can do 12, do 15. We have a range there because some of us have heavier weights or lighter weights than others. So if you have lighter weights, you might want to go up to 15. Or if your weights are heavy and challenging enough for 12, then that's great. And just do 12. Not so bad. Okay, so that's our second one. Very nice. Sides of the body. Okay, we have 1 more to go. The last one is going to be a front-loaded sumo squat. So I'm going to take the same weights, load them up, front-loaded position. Make sure my feet are wide, toes pointing out, and we're going to sit down and push our knees out, and then stand up doing the same amount of reps that you did in those deadlifts. So 12 to 15, and we're challenging ourselves to do the same amount. Maybe if you did 12, you can push for 15 in the squat, but 12 is fine. Okay, we're trying to push the knees out far out over the pinky toes. And that's why we're in this wide or sumo stance, is to promote the knees going out, okay? Because the heels are out, the toes are pointed out. We have to push the knees out or else we'll have the situation which we talked about, not so good. So we'll open them up, go through our set, and then once we're finished, we are doing it again, okay? No rest, circuit style, 2 more sets of this very fun stuff, okay? 3 rounds total, and then we have the final part, and laying on the floor. So back to that first one, our single leg deadlift to reverse lunge, okay? So again, when you're ready, whatever you're holding on to, we're standing on that side, holding the weights on opposite side, soft knee, and then we'll go through our set, pushing the hips back, hips forward, and then the lunge. Okay, so 8 and 8, the deadlift and the lunge is 1, so we will make sure we got that count correct. We don't accidentally do double or half. It happens. Okay, so we'll get through our second set. We have 2 more to go. 3 sets total. Okay, so we'll try to make sure that all these sets, all these reps count because they're all very important as we are only doing 3 rounds of this. We have about 4 to 5 minutes to get this done, all right? So that's why we are taking no rest. That being said, I know that's not a lot of time, but I don't want you to rush your exercises. The only thing we're rushing here is the transition time when we're switching between each one. Okay, we don't want to stand there and end up resting and pondering our lives and thinking about what we're doing after this and all this stuff. We want to just keep going here back to back between these ones so that we can get them done. Because we are here to work. Okay, so let's do it. Unless, of course, you have prescribed rest, but now is not that time. All right. So let's get through 2 more rounds. Again, those deadlifts. Woohoo! Okay, and then we have the straight leg deadlifts. All right, the ones with the soft knees, hips back, hips forward. Okay, these are ones that we really have to be thinking about being active in our glutes. On the way down, we're feeling that tension build, and we want to actively kind of squeeze our butt at the bottom. So when we get down to this position here, we want to think about kind of contracting and using our back side, the back of the legs, to stand ourselves up. Okay, we're not just going up and down, not bending our body down like this. We're trying to think about pushing the hips back and then pulling the hips forward. Okay, we practice this in the warm-up. We practice this in those single deads. So hopefully you have it locked in. Okay, 12 to 15. And then the sumos. Now, for those of you who don't have weights, okay, for those deadlifts, what we can do is grab a band or 2, wrap them underneath your foot, and then hold the bands on the sides like this. And then for our sumo squats, we can take the band, if you don't have those dumbbells, and put them around your knees, and then go through your set of your 12 to 15, all right? So, second set, we have 1 more to go. And I will give you guys about 3 minutes to finish up this one and the last one, the last set. Okay. Get this done. I know this combination definitely does kind of get the heart rate going a little bit. That's okay. That's not our direct cardio or conditioning. A little sneaky heart rate elevation in here. All right, so we have 1 more round. This is it, my friends, for our lower body strength. Okay, 3 exercises, last set. All right, so let's try to take our time with it. Don't let the fact that you have 2 minutes rush you. Okay, we'll get it done. And then we have our final round, our final part, which is on the floor. And it's all about our core and our abs. So we don't have to leave the floor once we get down there. Just got to kind of roll around a little bit and do some probably really hard exercises, but that's okay. I'll talk about that when we get there. Let's get through this final set. Okay, less than 2 minutes. Do it. Do it. All right, let's get it. So final set, as we are And there you go. Okay, we'll finish strong here. All right, just over a minute left on this fun stuff. Perfect. So, this is it. The leg strength on this Monday. Until we, of course, back on Friday for our next leg day. That's how we'll try to go up strong, go up with the bang here, try to feel our lower body as much as we can. That's why we're here on these ones. Okay, so 15, we'll try to push for 15. Maybe you've been doing 12. But maybe you can squeeze out those extra 3 reps, even if your weights are, quite heavy. That's okay. If they're light, and we'll take our time with each rep, especially on the way down. You want to think about building up that tension and then really squeezing it, pulling ourselves up. See if we can lock that in. Final round. That's for the deadlifts and for those sumo squats. Same rules apply. As we go through that set, we can think about kind of sitting down, and then we get down here, we squeeze our butt and pull ourselves up. So we don't just stand up and like squeeze at the top and end up kind of doing this whole hyperextension situation, but we actually start squeezing down here. So we get up here, we don't have to push forward because we feel tight by the time we get to the top, okay? So if you weren't doing that, now is your last opportunity to try to add that in. It's important, it's crucial on these ones, especially if you're working with something quite light, okay? So you might have to think about it a bit more. So as we finish up, good job. We have one final part here, and it's hanging out on the floor. I mean, kind of hanging out. We're going to be working our abs and core. We do not need any equipment. We just need a body and our mat, of course. So we'll go ahead and move everything out of the way. Our chair, our bench, our dumbbells, our bands. Okay, we don't need any of it. And you can come on down and join me on the floor when you are ready for our last part. Woo! Okay, hopefully you're feeling good. Grab some water once you are finished, because again, you're probably feeling like you need it. We are going to be coming down onto the floor here, working off this timer, which I am setting for us right now, doing 3 different core-focused exercises. So what we're going to do is show you the first one. We're going to do it, get her done, and then we'll show you the other 2 on the timer, as we do have a little bit of rest in between our rounds. 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 3 sets total, okay? So let's start off with this first one, which is our jackknife. So what we want to do is sit up in this position here. First things first, we'll walk our hips back, so we're sitting kind of on the bottom of our sit bones, and then we'll lean back. Make sure that you actually have some space. I'm going to get a little bit more so I don't hit my head on the wall when we do the first time, but make sure you have some space behind you because we're going to be leaning back. We'll lift up the legs, lift up those arms, and you can face the palms so that they're under or in like this, doesn't really matter. And then we go down as far as we can, and we come up as close as we can to our heels. You don't have to touch, okay? You can go in that direction. And we'll be going through our set 40 seconds like this, all right? So get yourself ready, okay? As ready as you would ever be. We'll have 3 opportunities to do this. And we have a nice 20-second bout of rest in between. Okay, ready, set, and let's go. Okay, first set, first round. So again, chest up, arms up. We go down, and then we come up. For some of us, we might go a bit lower than others. This is going to be a bit easier if we don't sit so low, whereas if we go all the way down and touch that low back down, it's going to be much harder. Okay, most important is that we're not like relaxing on the floor. We want to stay tight and keep that tension. So if you feel like you're losing that, maybe don't go so low, okay? 10 more seconds left. There it is. 3, 2, 1, and rest. And the next one is laying on our back. And I'm talking all the way down. So we're going to extend our arms, and this way you want maybe a bit more space behind you. Arms up, legs down. We're going to go opposite arm to opposite foot. Those 2 stay down, and these 2 leave and reach towards the center. Let's go. So we want to keep our hand down, our foot down. Just these 2 are going to leave as well as that shoulder blade over here will leave the floor as I lift it up and reach for that other side. If you really want to make this more challenging, the whole time we can think about removing that space from our lower backs, pushing our back into the floor, and seeing if we can hold that the entire time. We can lift the head up, and we'll relax the head down, and alternating sides, right side, left side, 10 seconds left. You guys got this. You do. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Okay, last one, we're going to flip over to a plank position. We have Mishka howling us through our last set. Okay, plank position, parallel forearms like this. We're going to step ourselves and hold a plank, okay, for our final exercise, for our first set. So, you ready? Well, let's go. Okay, come join me here. If you want to make it a bit harder, we can walk our feet back into that long lever position. All right, so we'll hold this here 30 seconds. I just need a plank, okay? So if you can't walk back and do the long lever, that's okay, all right? We'll try our best to just hold it. If you need to make it a bit easier, step your feet a bit wider. See if that helps. 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Good job, you guys. Keep moving. I don't know if it helps if I say hi to her, if it hinders. Okay, and rest. All right, so that was our first set. Okay, we have 2 more rounds. Back to that first one. So flip on over, come on up here, and get yourself ready for those jackknives. And we'll walk those hips back. Take a few deep breaths. Lean back, legs up, arms out, and here we go. We go down, and we come up. The entire time we're trying to keep our chest up, so we're not rounded forward, we're rounded like this. We want to lift the chest up, make sure our back stays straight. And if you're struggling to do that, opening up your palms helps, because it kind of opens up your shoulders and naturally will make you sit up a bit more upright. All right, let's go, guys. 15 seconds left. Second last time you're here. So we have our 3 sets. Not too bad, okay, but you feel these ones are quite challenging. 3, 2, 1, and time. Nice job. All right, so you can go ahead and lay on your back. The next one is going to be our crossover crunches. So oftentimes we do these ones kind of one side at a time. Today we're alternating, okay? So it's important that first off we do that. We do alternate, but we are having those opposite 2 stay down on the floor. So that foot, this arm stays. We don't want them lifting or raising up like that. We want to keep them down as we go through our set. So something that we are working our way up towards on this one, and I know there might be some of you who might want to try this, is doing this one from that hollow hold position. So if you do want to make this one harder, you can lift up off the floor if you know that you are a rock star and super strong at your hollow holds, and you can try them like that. But most of us, we're good on the floor. Okay, 10 seconds left. You got it. 3, 2, 1. All right, flip over, plank, the one that, no one really wants to do, but we're here doing it anyways because planking is so good for us. And the only way we get better at it is by doing it. And sometimes it kind of sucks to do on your own. That's why we're here. Here we go. 40-second plank, especially after doing these other 2 core exercises. It most likely makes everything feel a lot harder in the plank. But remember that planking is most of the time a mental thing, okay? You not being able to plank, that's your head, that's your brain giving up, not necessarily your body, okay? Because you've seen, probably heard of I think it was a woman actually, or maybe it was a man, I'm not sure, but they planked for like 8 hours. Okay, that's crazy. We will never be doing that, but it's not their body. Obviously, they had to train for it, okay, but a lot of it was up in their head, just keeping and telling themselves that they could do it, which you have to do right now. 3, 2, 1, but don't worry, it's not 8 hours. Okay, rest. We have 1 more set. Yay. And then we're done here. Like, done. Like, get on with our day. Go outside. It's so nice out. Okay, so on to the first one, our jackknives. Get yourself ready so we can have this full 40 seconds of work starting right now. Let's go. Final set. Okay, let's do it. So again, struggling to keep the chest up, we'll open up those palms, lift that chest high. Exhale as you come up. Okay, inhale as we go down. Remember to breathe, most importantly. Halfway. Yeah, you got it. Okay, strong finish to your last set, 10 seconds. Give me like 2 more, maybe 3. Take your time with them. All right, 3, 2, 1, and nice job. Okay, lay on your back. Laying on our back. Crossover crunches. Okay, this is our last set of them. So again, we're lifting arms back, legs out. Get ready. Opposite arm, opposite leg. 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Okay, reaching those arms to feet. Let's do it. Last set of them. There you go. Okay, so try to keep the arms and legs straight and low back into the floor. Can you make that happen? Yes, but it's not easy. It's something that you probably have to think about and kind of consciously do, because naturally it doesn't really want to happen that way. 15 seconds left. Okay, so every time you reach those arms and legs, reach that back down too. Push that back down. 10 seconds. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, and time. Okay, flip over, plank. 40 seconds, definitely no problemo. I mean, it's going to feel like a problem. It's going to feel probably really hard, okay? But we plank longer, and you can do this because this is your last set. So flip over, 5 seconds until we start. Get ready, get set, and plank, okay? Parallel forearms. We want to separate those hands, trying our best to practice that nice strong position, okay? Straight legs. Think about squeezing your thighs, contracting your quads, squeezing your butt. That's going to help your legs straighten and have less bend in them. 20 seconds, okay? You've got this. It's like nothing in real life, okay? I know planking life is a little different than real life, but 15 more seconds. Okay, take some deep breaths. You can do this. If your knees are down, get them back up. Stay with us. Don't give up. You can do this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Done. And you, my friends, are finished. Nice work. Hopefully you feel good. Worked just the right amount. We are going to go through a couple stretches. They are down here on the floor. First one's this cat-cow. Now you have some options because I'm going to leave you guys on your own for stretching. But this one's going to feel nice. Okay, rounding our back, arching our back, and abs stretched out. Okay, you can do this as many times as you want. Maybe 5, maybe 10 times. And then once you're ready, you can sit down on those heels and walk your hands away into this child's pose. And we can hold this for about 60 seconds, 30 seconds at least, so that we get that nice stretch through our lower back, the back of our hips. But upward to a minute is going to be best, okay? A couple other stretches that we can focus on are the glutes, the back of the hips. So this one, where we position ourselves with a wall. Oh, that sun is nice. Put our foot on the wall, bend up our opposite heel onto that ankle, or to that knee rather, and then we can hold this here. If we want a deeper stretch, we can move closer to the wall. Less stretch, we move away from the wall. And we'll feel this on this side here. I love this one. You guys know because it's like a super relaxing, lazy stretch. You don't have to do anything or pull in your leg. So I would suggest doing this one. If you don't have a wall that you want to put your foot on, I get it. What you can do is just pull in the leg like this instead. Excuse me. Inhale the fluff. And then hold this for 60 seconds per side. She's like, you're done in there. So 60 seconds per side. Anything else, my friends, that you want to stretch? Hip flexors will do you good, especially if you do have a sensitive or tight lower back. We can take some time to stretch out our hips. And then, yeah, anything else, my friends? You guys are done with me. Another Monday workout in the books. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks, Dave, for coming out live in the Zoom room. Hopefully you have a great day. You feel good. And if you are watching the replay, drop a comment below. So I know you were here, so then I know you did it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Upper body. Adios, my friend. And Mishka says goodbye too. Thank you guys for bearing with us.